We send his peace and blessings upon the beloved messenger, his family, his companions, his followers until the day of judgment, and we ask that Allah makes us all amongst that following. I mean, now normally we would probably spend a little bit longer. So I saw some of the youth that had came here, the YM brothers that came here specifically for this program. I saw them walk out, and I see some of them on the basketball court. Normally we'd give them some time to come, but Isha Salah will be here shortly. So for those who came, you know, Allah will register our names in the books, inshallah. So I wanted to thank a number of, I wanted to reintroduce everyone to the Muslim Alliance for Black Lives, which is the organization that has really put this together, in addition to ICNA Council for Social Justice, the Irving Masjid, Young Muslims. But we wanted to give a shout out to Muslim Alliance for Black Lives, and I wanted to invite, sorry, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers. There are some sisters that would like to participate in the program so they can be more equally engaged. So if we can clear out the west side so that the sisters can use that side of the room. So middle and east, if you would, please. And then sisters, those of you that do want to participate, if you come in and you turn off to this direction here, that section will be reserved for you.
Shukran. I want to welcome everyone who's joining us for this program, inshallah. So before we do anything, I want to invite Brother Mustafa Carroll, who is our local leader, our convener, our local Amir for Muslim Alliance for Black Lives. Mashallah, he's a true legend. Pretty soon we're going to have a program exclusively for him next time, inshallah. But for now, he has a couple minutes to introduce this amazing work that's being done, Muslim Alliance for Black Lives. Are you comfortable standing? You good standing?
I'm good. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. والصلاة والسلام على أجمعين ونستعينه ونستغفره وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Assalamu alaikum. So thankful. I'm not the leader, I'm the convener. And I got that position by accident. So everybody keeps trying to put me into this chairperson position, but I'm not. But nevertheless, I'm very thankful and happy to be here and to represent the Muslim Alliance for Black Lives. It's part of Council for Social Justice in ICNA. We've been having this alliance a little bit over a year, I think. And just to give you an idea of why we started it, or why it was started, the alliance was started to leverage the diversity of the community to benefit everybody, but definitely to benefit those communities in the inner cities. For those of you who may have been here for a good while, say 30, 40 years, if you came here 30, 40 years ago, more than likely there was only one masjid, Masjid al-Islam downtown, Masjid Hassan in Fort Worth, and several others that have sprouted up after that. But those were the masjids that everyone went to. Those were the masjids that actually helped everyone when they first came here. And the reason that we see a disparity now is because as we grew, people started to disperse around the community, and consequently, those masjids have suffered because of that to some degree. If you know anything about inner city anywhere, then most of those places have challenges that don't happen in other places. And that doesn't preclude the Muslims from not having those same challenges. In fact, back in the late 90s, Masjid al-Islam initiated something very similar to what Imam Siraj did. It was called AMAN, African American Men Against Narcotics, and cleaned out that area there for a moment. So these things have been going on. If you know anything about our community, those are the kinds of challenges that we face. But also, we started this initiative so that we could benefit everyone. One of the reasons that we see have not leveraged the diversity is because we don't understand the underpinnings of what's going on, what historically has happened, and why that affects us today. If you look at some of the challenges and some of the success stories, the civil rights movement actually ushered in the National Immigration and Immigration Naturalization Act of 1965, where it allowed more people from Africa and Asia to come in the country. Prior to that, it was 60,000 Europeans and 6,000 people from other places. So that's just one example. But we feel like that the reason that we have not seen the type of understanding that helps to engender unity is because we don't know that history in a way that benefits us. We know Malcolm, we know Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, but we don't really understand what has happened holistically, that this has been a long struggle that continues to go on, that if you look through it historically, it helps you to understand it. Not in a way that's patronizing, not so you can say, oh, those poor black folks, et cetera, but so that we understand what is going on in the society and how we can help as Muslims for this to benefit. And so we're hoping that we'll leverage our diversity in a way that's going to benefit the entire community and therefore engender trust, unity, et cetera. And we do this through education, through youth mentorship, through initiatives by these brothers here that they've been doing for a good while. I think Victor's been involved for, 12 years? Telling all this history. But these brothers are doing some tremendous work, and the purpose of Mabel is to support worthwhile organizations like theirs, masjids like Masjid al-Islam, like Masjid Hassan, like Islamic Unity Center, et cetera, to bridge the gap and to build those communities so that we have an effective issues and effective dawah programs, effective initiatives in that community to try to deal with and rectify some of the issues that we see in the community. So inshallah, we're hoping that you all will gain from their experience and gain from all the work that they've done here in this community. This is some really groundbreaking work that we see these brothers doing, and I'm hoping that you will join in welcoming them and thanking them for being here because they have a very tremendous story to tell. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair. I just want to mention that Brother Mustafa Carroll, mashallah, he's been doing this work for such a long time, longer than a lot of us have been alive, and I've never seen anyone, mashallah, may Allah increase him in all the work that he's done, tireless work for so many years. May Allah reward him tremendously. I mean, now let's get straight to why we are here, why all of us are here. These two brothers, I'm not even going to give them complete introductions because part of the program is them introducing themselves. All I'll say is that our brother Abdul over here is from Fort Worth. He's done tremendous community organizing and programs that he's initiated that we want to hear about also. And then we have Brother Victor, who is a violence interrupter, social entrepreneur, and also a true community organizer. So with that, I think we'll start with Brother Abdul. I want to ask him firstly something that's on all of our minds. If you can please tell us about the neighborhood that you come from, and also your upbringing, your youth, some of the things that you did in your younger days.
Assalamu alaikum. I come from the west side of Fort Worth. It was given the acronym Murderworth back in the late 90s because we had the most killings in the nation per capita. How I got involved with gangs is when I was 14 years old, I stole my mother's car and I drove all the way to California to get down with this rap group called NWA. As strange as it might sound, a lot of times youth, we're not able to discern fact from fiction off inside music. I was so influenced by this group. Again, like I said, I stole my mom's car and I got out to California. My mother told me it would probably be in the best interest that I stayed with my aunt and them for about a month because my father would kill me for taking his brand new car and getting it messed off. So I ended up staying out there in California for about a month and I got introduced to these gangs, the Rolling 60s and the Grape Street Crips. I didn't see a gang out there. I saw a brotherhood. I saw older dudes in their communities taking care of the younger people. The original origins of Crip was Community Revolution in Progress. It was a branch from the Black Panthers in the 60s. It was not a gang in the beginning. It was infiltrated by the government. There was guns and drugs flooded into it because they started seeing unity from amongst people. I decided that I wanted to come back to Fort Worth, and I started the first Texas-based Crip set on the west side of Fort Worth. I knew all the Crips and Bloods that came down here from California, but they didn't have jurisdiction over us because we were not from California. We didn't claim California streets. By the time I was 18 years old, I had been shot 6 times, 5 times by a police officer, once in the back of the head. In 1994, I created a gang truce that reduced crime 48% in the city of Fort Worth. And still to this day, there has not been anything in the city of Fort Worth that has reduced crime more than that gang truce. I stopped the gang truce not because I was scared of dying in the streets, but because one of my friends, who was just an associate, his 3-year-old daughter got killed in a retaliation gang shoot. Somebody was coming to shoot some of the people that we knew and killed my partner's little girl. That was that's what did it for me. From that point in time, when I first got into Islam, I started in the 5% teachings and went into the Nation of Islam by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. A brother named Abdullah Muhammad Noor from the Sudan is the one who introduced me to Al-Islam around 1994. Since that period of time, alhamdulillah, I was able to serve as an imam in several different prisons, witnessed over 100 brothers take shahadas. And what I found was, what was most extraordinary is that Islam was able to bring Crips and Bloods and GDs and Vice Lords and all different types of people that you would see on a day-to-day basis as gangs. But these are just individuals off inside their community. Sometimes they're fatherless. Sometimes they're in conditions where they feel like they don't have hope or inspiration. And they gravitate toward groups. Everybody wants to be a part of a group. We had soccer groups. We got basketball groups. We got police academies. In our communities, unfortunately, some of these groups go astray and end up selling drugs. And let me be quiet because I can be loquacious. But Islam unified our hearts. I remember in Surah 103, 3 and 103, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he sent down a rope and we were enemies and he joined our hearts. You know, we were on this brink of fire and he joined our hearts. And I can say that I seriously saw brothers who were trying to kill each other at one point in time because of Islam. These brothers reconciled differences. And from that point in time, since then, I've been off inside my community trying to give back. We've opened up over 3 community centers. We've done this without any funding. And I want everybody in here to understand something, regardless of, when you go to prison, and I'm not proud of being in prison, but I thank Allah for going to it because it taught me something that gives me an opportunity and ability to connect with people where people can't connect with them. When inside prison, you see brothers from Pakistan, from Egypt, you see brothers from Afghanistan, from all over the place. But there's this stigma and this stereotype about Muslims in prison. And it doesn't make a difference where you're from. You're all bottled and grouped into one group off inside prison. So the brotherhood off inside prison is a lot different. We have to look out for each other because everybody's at the Muslim's neck off inside prison. And so the sad part about it, though, is that when we get home and we get released, we don't see that sense of brotherhood off inside our communities. I'm not here to, try to be a scholar about anything, but the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't just help and give charity just to Muslims. He gave charity to everybody. And Allah says off inside the Quran that we are the best humans evolved from mankind. We are supposed to be the examples for the entire humanity. And so it is our example as Muslims when we see Christian organizations like Catholic Charities and different organizations that set up funds and transitional programs and reentry programs just for Christians. For the longest, us as Muslims, we act as if we don't have these problems in our communities. We act as if we don't have drug problems in our communities. We act as if our children don't fall astray to things into the courts of America. And if we don't unify and bring ourselves together and set aside our differences, inshallah, under the cause of Islam, and let me back that up. I know we will because it's the will of Allah. I know we will. This is the most beautiful thing that I've seen in the 30 years that I've been Muslim. And let me be quiet. But my name's Abdul Chappelle. I was born with the name Abdul. When I was raised, moving from a black segregated community into an integrated white community, My name, I was taunted. I couldn't understand why I was the only person with the name Abdul. Everybody else had normal names like Durrell and John and things of the such. But and my parents are not Muslim, so alhamdulillah. So when I did take my shahada and I understood what Abdullah means, it had that much more significance in my life. And so I'm wholeheartedly dedicated to trying to bring Islam and to bring an understanding into our communities. And the only way we're going to be able to do it is doing it collectively.
Jazakallah khair. And we're going to hear more from the brothers. I wanted to mention really quick that we have a lot of youth here, a part of a group called Young Muslims. And the way that you described, you went to California, joined this brotherhood called the Crips, and you saw this system and you brought it back and you started your own local chapter. That's literally the way that Young Muslims do it, right? That's exactly what you guys do. So they call it NeighborNet, but next time you can call it a Crip set. Never mind. Victor said don't do it. So next we'll go to Brother Victor. So if you leave here and you drive west 30 minutes, you end up in where Brother Abdul is from. And if you drive in the other direction, I want to say like southeast, 30 minutes, you end up in Oak Cliff where Brother Victor is from, and he's going to tell us about his neighborhood and his upbringing.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi. My name is Victor Avalais. I am as you can see, I am a black man. No, I am of mixed heritage. My father is Mexican. My mother is African American. I love my family. I swear I do. I grew up in Oak Cliff. I was born in Western New York. I grew up in Oak Cliff. My mother's family is originally from Oak Cliff. My mother and father met in Western New York, and they came back to the hometown. And I was raised inside of Oak Cliff. And for those that do not know, Oak Cliff in the 70s and 80s and 90s was predominantly African American and Mexican American, and that's the environment that I grew up in. It was also an area that had a lot of social ills that comes with the urban city. And regardless of how blessed you are intellectually, physically, or morally, when you are in these surroundings, you're going to attract and retain some of these social ills. So you're taught at a very early age that the way to solve any issues is through violence. You're taught this at a very early age. A lot of us has incorporated that in order just to navigate the daily life inside of Oak Cliff. You taught some of these things dealing with it, whether it be drugs or alcohol. This is how you want to calm down and relax. You're taught some of these things about dealing with young ladies and all these type of things. So these are for every social ill that is going on inside of the New York City or inside of LA. They happen inside of Dallas, inside of Oak Cliff, and it's something that I was surrounded around. It was things that I participated in that I am not proud about when I was a youth and when I was a teenager. A lot of dreadful things, and I had to a degree, I had to participate in order to survive. If that sounds, you have to walk out that door every day, and you have to establish yourself to where you can be known that this is someone that is not to be trifled with, someone that's not to be toyed with, someone that's not to be played with. For whatever reason, the Most High saw fit to put a level of courage and assertion in me that I use that in order to navigate these waters. But that courage and that assertion turns into aggression, it turns into violence, and it turns into all these things. Even when I made the decision and choice, after graduating high school in Oak Cliff, I joined the United States Navy. And when I joined the United States Navy, saying I still want to make a better way, I don't want to be involved with some of the things that I've been involved with as a teenager. I don't want to go down the road that I've seen some of the individuals go down, either in the graveyard or in prison. Then I say, well, hey, let me take this step and go to another route. But I still left Oak Cliff with Oak Cliff inside of me. It's the old saying is that you can take and I'm gonna clean it up, you can take the young person out the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the person. And so when I was in the state of Virginia while active duty in the military, I wound up utilizing the skills and the tactics that I had been taught as a youth, as a teenager, and how to solve a violent altercation. And sadly, I took a man's life and I was incarcerated for 26 consecutive years in the state of Virginia. And I was in there from 1994 up until 2020. And upon my release, I made my way back to Dallas, and I've been inside in the Oak Cliff area trying to do all that I can to give back to my community, to my people. It is something that I take pride in, it's something that I take pleasure in, where I get to walk the same streets that I grew up in, that I get to go to a local park that I ripped and ran in and try to be a better example than what I was as a youth and as a teenager. And it's also something I take pride in, that I get to encounter individuals like myself who grew up just like me, but are trying to do the same thing or wanting to do the same thing, and they just need that extra push. They just needed that outlet, and that's what I provide individuals. As the Imam said, I work as a violence interrupter. I go inside these communities. I encourage conflict resolution. I discourage acts of violence, and I try to usher people toward resources that can help improve their quality of life. So if that means that they're going to be dealing with housing issues, I try to help them get rental assistance. If they're dealing with hunger, we try to get them to food pantries. If they're dealing with issues with in need of medical, we try to get them signed up for Medicare, Medicaid, and things of that nature. Anything that we can do to try to improve their quality of life, that's what I try to do, while working for the organization that I work for, but also on my own volition. It is something that I started doing while incarcerated. It was my road to Islam while incarcerated was a bit rocky. I was on my 15th year of incarceration before I embraced Islam. Part of that was because I had an ego issue. I used to see guys go to prison and they would run to a religion for protection, and I didn't want to be associated with that. I would see guys embrace a religion and not be sincere. I didn't want to be associated with that. So the moment when I decided, I knew that I was going to, and I had so many beautiful brothers over that time call me to Islam, would tell me, hey, you will be a great Muslim. It's like the Imam said. That's a message I took from them. You will be a great Muslim. That's something that they used to say to me. And on my 10th year, I knew that, hey, I would one day embrace Islam. I just didn't want to do it while inside. That was my own prerogative. But after being denied parole 3 or 4 times, I had to do what was right for my deen, for my salvation, and I embraced Islam. And I have not turned back since. I've been able to carry this message of charity and love with a sternness, with a no-nonsense mentality, everywhere that I went, whether inside and outside. It's something that I do not steer away from. I do not shy away from. I let everybody know I'm a Muslim through and through, and I'm not changing. Regardless if my mother did not agree with it, regardless if relatives did not agree with it, this is something I had to do what was right for me. And now that I am back home, I'm doing everything I can to try to encourage others as well to say, hey, you too will be a great Muslim. And especially in the area that I grew up in. The part of Oak Cliff I'm from, the zip code is 75216. In my ignorant days when I was younger, we used to applaud that we were so criminal, so violent, so belligerent. We applauded that as youth. We did not know. We just knew that, hey, we're from a tough area. Nobody in this area across the city is going to bother us. But I did not know the ramifications of it until recently. Someone gave me this very jarring statistic. Zip code 75216 leads all the zip codes in the state of Texas in incarceration rates per capita. That zip code there leads all the zip codes throughout the entire state of Texas for the population to be incarcerated. And if you connect the surrounding zip codes in South Dallas 75215 and in Pleasant Grove 75216, those other 2 zip codes along with that part of Oak Cliff represents literally 10% of the prison population. 10% of the prison population in the state of Texas, which has the largest prison population in the United States of America, 1/10 comes from an area that I can walk in or walk across to within less than 30 minutes. I know what they need. I know what they're going through. I know how we can help them. And the best dawah I've ever seen is charity. The best dawah I've ever seen is a soft heart. And that's something that I try to give these people that I grew up with. That's something that I try to give this community that I'm from. I try to let them know that, hey, this hardness, this toughness, it is not needed for all of these situations. And if you would just but take a step back, think about the ramifications of some of your actions, think twice, make a better decision, you will have a better life. Oh, and by the way, and if you embrace Islam, your life will be even grander. So that's the work that I try to do in the communities that I'm from. Anything else, just ask me. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to, in a few moments, we're going to shift gears and just focus on the work that's being done by both of these brothers can actually speak for hours alone for the work that they're doing. You know, like I have both the brothers on Facebook, and I mean, I'm like, let me just get on for a couple minutes, and I go to Brother Abdul's profile, and like 30 minutes later, I was like, wow, the brother's done so much work. But I wanted to also ask Brother Abdul about something that I've heard that Brother Victor said, and something that I've heard constantly about brothers that return to the neighborhood where they came from and start doing this work. I don't want to say it's out of a sense of obligation or making things right, but I've often heard that, you know, I participated in some things that were not so great for this community. And now it's on me to, you know, Allah has given me the opportunity, it's on me to make things right. Can you speak on that, like that phenomenon?
Sure. I actually believe it is an obligation. I don't believe it's optional because I believe that, and this is just me, I was directly or indirectly responsible for the direction of how my community changed. So when I came home, you know, I had a lot of people who expected me to bring all the Crips together and, you know, bring all the people together, things of the such. By the mercy of Allah, while I was incarcerated, I was able to write 9 books. I started a publishing company, a clothing line, a distribution label. And so I set those things to the side because when I came home, I couldn't believe how my neighborhood looked. You know, we didn't have prostitution walking up and down the streets. You know, living on Las Vegas Trail, we opened up 3 small community centers out there in the apartment complexes. And there's just no way you can turn your eye, especially when you're Muslim. You know, if Islam enters into your heart, then we see every child as an extension of our own children. So when I see children out in the neighborhood, it doesn't make a difference whose child that is. I feel obligated to protect that child. I feel obligated to look out for that sister if I see you know, her in the wrong. So to me, it's an obligation because, you know, Allah teaches us again that, you know, it's our duty as Muslims to be the example for humanity. That means every existing being on the planet is supposed to be looking at the Muslim. The Muslim is supposed to have the example that everybody else follows. And I think a lot of times we get kind of caught up in, you know, our own personal things so much that we forget to look at, you know, your brother's going through something, or, you know, let me say this, and I'm sorry, and I'll get off. I have a Muslim brother that I met named Mustafa. He was a 21-year-old brother. His mother's Hispanic, and his father's from Iraq. You know, the brother's selling dope. You know, he got partners in the streets because he grew up, you know, in a neighborhood where he was influenced by the people around him. Even though the brother can recite the Quran from front to back. I mean, the brother is, you know, very beautiful brother. But as a youth, our children get influenced by things that are around them in their surroundings. And, you know, it was an honor to be able to meet his parents, but I say this, and when I say the obligation is, even though I wasn't born Muslim in a Muslim, you know, household, you know, it was a mercy to be able to meet this brother to get him to understand, bro, you were raised by Muslim parents. You know, you ain't got no business out here on this block selling dope with these dudes. You're supposed to be a better example to them. And so I feel like, you know, the best way, when people ask, when we were getting interviewed by NBC News and everything else, some of these sisters over here that are here, Treese Jones, she does Southside Gardens. She actually builds gardens for people who are living in impoverished communities where they can actually grow their own fresh produce. This brother Miguel right here is another Muslim brother out of Fort Worth who came out here today to support me, to support us. He's one of the Muslim brothers that's been out here since 2014. We call it being on the front line, standing in front of guns, telling young people to think about the consequences of what's going to happen if you kill that person. You know, you might be able to get that little honor and that fame for a second, but you've taken a life that can't come back, and then you go into the penitentiary for the rest of your life. So I feel like if Allah blesses us with experiences, if Allah blesses us with knowledge, then I do feel like, in a sense, that it's obligatory for us to utilize the blessings and the gifts that Allah gives us in order to empower other individuals by examples. I hope that suffices.
I agree with Abdul, but I agree on both ends. I believe that anybody that has ever been incarcerated has a moral obligation to give back in some type of way once they're released from incarceration. I don't care what way that it is. That's just what I personally believe. I do believe that about a Muslim, or anybody that is conscious, for the better way of putting that, because anybody can, go through any type of movement and say a whole bunch of things. Brothers used to make this point. You can't hit me with Assalamu alaikum, because the last brother told me that in the streets got me 495 years. So someone saying that they're Muslim doesn't mean anything. It's your acts. You know what I'm saying? That's something that we can see on the daily. And I don't just mean with the, through prayer. You have to live this. And I believe that wholeheartedly as well, is that if we know better, if Allah saw fit to bless you with the ability to put words together in a better manner than the next man so you can speak for him, that's what you have to do. My father taught me that as a kid. My father used to stop and translate for anybody that could not speak English, you know what I'm saying, when we were just going about. And I hated that. I said, why you always stopping and translating for people? You're holding us up from going to the movies and showbiz pizza and all this type of stuff. And he told me, he said, you have an obligation to speak for people that cannot speak for themselves. You have that obligation to do that. You have an obligation to stand up for people that cannot stand up for themselves. I agree with that 100%. If we say that we believe, if we say that we are sincere, if we say that this is the best way, we have an obligation. Part of the reason why Musab and I connected is because I saw him at a bookstore in Oak Cliff. And I said, who is this Mexican dude with this ignorant shirt on walking around? So we just got to talk, and he was shocked that I knew what ignorant meant. I was like, what you talking, bro? I read. Come on, you stereotyping me now? So, but he believed, like I believe, is that the banner of Islam should be in Oak Cliff. Oak Cliff is 1/3 the section of Dallas. 1/3 the section of Dallas. It is a beautiful community. I love Oak Cliff. I put it up against any community in the United States of America. I will. It has its ills, but it has its pleasures. It has its pockets of what I call it, pockets of oasis. You can go through any area and you can see a $500,000 home just like you can out here in Irving somewhere. You have communities like this. And so, but that being said, is that we need the Muslims there as well, just like they're here in Irving. We need them there. I tell them, half of y'all can go into any community and immediately somebody starts speaking Spanish to you, because they'll think you Mexican. One thing they know for certain is that you're not Caucasian and you look like one of them. You look like one of us. And then they're gonna say, hey, and that's the door opener right there. That's how we talk to people. When I go back into communities that I grew up in, I let them know, yeah, I've been to prison. Yeah, I did this. Yeah, I did that. Oh, and by the way, I'm Muslim now, as the Tupac song goes. I'm Muslim now. No more dope games. That's me. And that's what I try to get across to our people in our communities, is that I have a moral obligation to give back, just like I believe they have a moral obligation to, at minimum, listen to what I'm saying. Hear me out for a second. Just think about it. If it doesn't fit, then alhamdulillah, at least you listen to me. Thank you. Because only Allah can open up your heart, correct? But we have an obligation to disseminate the message. And that's what I want us to do. I want us to be present. It was a beautiful thing that the Muslims came out, especially the Muslim from Islamic Center of Irving, came out in full force to Deer Path Park out in Oak Cliff. It was a beautiful day out there at the Health and Wellness Fair. It was a beautiful event to see Salat being performed out there in the park. Come on, you know how many people now just have a different look now of what Islam is? You know how many people that they touch and they talk to, how many the young brothers got in the ranks?
I think 3 or 4, just random kids.
Just random kids, just because they seeing something different, something that they heard, something that they realizing that, hey man, this may be something different or something better for us. You never know. And so I believe likewise, if you were once incarcerated, you have an obligation to give back to your community. But if Allah has blessed you with some blessings on this plane of existence, you have an obligation to give back to the others. There are starving children here in America. You ain't got to send it across the country, across the world. You got people right across the street, and whether it's in Fort Worth or South Dallas or Oak Cliff or other parts, that they need your help. They want your access. They want you to be there to say, hey, I too care. And that's what I'm trying to get across, especially to the youth. Islam is here. It is present. You all are going to be the leaders tomorrow. I'm 49 years old. My lifespan is, I'm closer to death than I am to puberty. It's you all that I need out there. It's you all and the young Muslims that have traveled to Oak Cliff and helped us. I cannot thank you enough for that. It has meant the world to me. And I ask you all to come more and more and more, because the more they see you all, the more that their hearts and minds are going to open up. It took me 15 years in the worst conditions to embrace Islam. It may not take that long in Oak Cliff for some of these people. That's why I need you.
Yeah, I think, the reason why, you might be wondering, other than some cool stories, why did we invite these brothers all this way to share what's going on? Because, as Muslims, we have to be aware of what's going on right in our vicinity. The places where these brothers live, it's probably faster to get there than some of you brothers it'll take you guys to get home. The brothers who live in who came all the way from Plano and stuff. It's right there. It's a 20 to 30 minute drive. We can get there, right? And as Muslims, we have, these brothers here, I have an obligation on them and they have obligations on me. We have rights upon one another, right? And that goes for all the brothers and sisters who are here today, right? So whatever's going on in their communities, they're doing the work. I like what the brother said, that this line of work is, what'd you say, 25/8? 25/8. They don't take breaks. Brother Victor, he goes 25/8, literally. You can call him anytime. He's either working or thinking of some work to do or something like that. And so the brothers are doing their work, and it's being recorded with Allah, and we ask that Allah accepts it. Ameen. But at the same time, you and I have an obligation. What can we do to help? Right? That's what we really got to do. And, Salah time is coming up, so I want to give both the brothers, with the time that we have remaining, I want to give both the brothers an opportunity to now talk about what they're doing, right? What are the projects that they're doing, and what we all can help with. What opportunities that they have for us. And I say opportunities because this is an opportunity to get something positive written in our book of deeds, inshallah. So I'll start with Brother Abdul. Tell us about Build a Brotherhood, the work that you're doing, and what all these brothers and sisters can do to help.
Alhamdulillah. So Build a Brotherhood is a wraparound program. We deal with conflict resolution, violence de-escalation, after-school art literature classes, young teen human trafficking, violence, domestic violence, homelessness. We provide clothes, food, any essential needs. The transitional point by the blessings of Allah, I like to write. And so I've written a lot of programs that the city of Fort Worth actually has used to get millions of dollars of grants. But they don't use these programs for the reasons that they're needed, right? I don't want to get too much into politics, but anyway, so what we're doing is it's a hands-on approach. When you form an intrinsic relationship with people in communities, you have to build trust with people. We don't want people just to see us in their communities at the stores, or we don't really have any concern for them. We want people to understand that basically with Build a Better Hood, what we do is we form intrinsic relationships with the parents and the children. So that once we build the trust up inside them, and a lot of them, like Brother Victor here, if when people know your background and know your story, automatically people are like, I was FBI's most wanted at one point in time. I was on Fort Worth's most wanted list at one point in time. And so when people look at my background and they say, if this person can change, surely what you're going through, you have the ability to change. You know, we just want young people. We try to use the examples of showing young people that a lot of the stuff that you see on social media and music and everything, you know, social media, on television, in the networks, it's an illusion. And, you know, and Allah tells us in the Quran, you know, don't think that you would just say that you will believe and you won't be tested. You know, surely you have to say more than la ilaha illallah. You're going to be tested in your day-to-day actions and duties. And it's not, and I'll close with this, it's not so much, you know, we have a day that we're born and a day that we die. There's a day that we're born and a day that we die. It doesn't matter about the day that you're born and the day that you die. It's the line in between that matters. What did you do with the time from the time that you were born on this planet and the time that you left this earth? What did you do outside of the day-to-day duties that you're obligated to do of going to work and things of the such? We have to fulfill certain daily duties. So with Build a Better Hood, our motto is taken from Islam. Our number one motto in Islam, in Build a Better Hood, is want for each other is what we want for ourselves. I have to want for you what I want for myself. If you want the best, if you're in a circle of brothers and you got some partners around you and they want you to be riding around in the Cutlass while they in the Bentley, them ain't your partners. Okay? I don't mean to be paraphrasing, but you want the best for everybody. Because when you change the conditions of a community, then there's less likeliness when you pull up at an ATM machine, somebody's pulling up with a gun trying to take your money. It's less likeliness that you're going to see somebody at your store hanging out asking for 50 cents or $1 when you're contributing into the community. And we're not just talking about feeding people and giving people free food. We're trying to teach people, we're trying to give people tools. We teach financial responsibility, financial literacy classes, Bitcoin classes. We want to educate people and give people the right, proper tools so they can become self-sustaining and learn how to take care of themselves. And so that's what our program is about in the show.
It's simple as this. I work as a violence interrupter, but I also do community events within my community. Again, 75216. That's the area that I'm from. The work that I do is because we're contracted with the city of Dallas. I'm gonna make this fast. To work in areas with the highest rates of violent crime. My area has the highest rates of violent crime throughout the entire city. It is synonymous with, and brother gave me this analogy. This area is synonymous to who Umar was, or the reputation prior to embracing Islam. And we had the discussion that if we can turn that area, if we can transform that area or raise the banner of Islam in that area, that would be symbolic to us getting Umar to embrace the deen. That's what I believe. What you all can do is just engage, just help. That's all we need. We need just a little bit. We need some more hands on. And I don't mean violence interruption. Do what you're best at doing. We brought the ICNA mobile health clinic down there. The doctors, that's the way to give back. The ICNA food relief pantry, giving out food, that's the way to give back. You have some of the older brothers, they purposefully brought the bounce houses for the kids because they wanted to hear the laughter of the grandchildren. That's the way to give back. Anything that we can do. When the young Muslims came out, they came out helping set up tables and things like that, and then they took part in all the basketball and the fun activities and just engaging with the neighborhood youth. That's the way to give back, is to show the people, like, listen, I'm Muslim. I know that this religion is best for you, and I'm gonna do my best to represent it here with you in your area, at your park, in your household. And prayerfully, that will be one of the ways that Allah will open up their hearts. So the things that we have coming up, July 30th, we're going to be doing another community event in Oak Cliff. I'm hoping that the Islamic Center of Irving come out in full force with the sisters when they did the henna. They did the henna painting and Muslim giving back with the food truck, so that would be a blessing. We're also talking about the possibility of doing a charity day inside of Oak Cliff. So that may be something that we can do. And also we're going to be doing some events with the city councilwoman, Carolyn King Arnold. She was overjoyed by the presence of the Muslims and by just the charity, just the benevolence. And when we did a second event on the heels of the Deer Path Park event, her words to me was, Victor, can you get the Muslims to come back? Can you get the Muslims to come back? And that's what we want. We want to make that impression upon all of these individuals, from the city councilwoman all the way down to the toddler across the street. We don't want to make that impression upon them so that they can say, hey, I like what's going on here. Let me learn more. Let me see more. Let me ask more. And that's what we want. Inshallah.
Yeah, so within Oak Cliff, it's such a big area, and I think there's only one masjid, and even that masjid is kind of on the edge, not really too close to where things are going on. And there's so many brothers who have at one point experienced Islam to different degrees within prison, and many of them, Brother Victor, it runs across so many of them, and just generally people already know about Islam. Where Imam Khalid Shaheed, who probably everyone knows, he was the Imam of Masjid al-Islam for so long. He and Victor are working together along with a couple organizations. We are going to build very soon, inshallah, a community center that houses a lot of these things that are going on. But until then, Victor is continuing to do his work and maintaining the reputation of Muslims in that community. And I would say, something as simple as all he did was he organized this event, an amazing event. And then he reached out to the Muslims and said, what can you do? And we knew that ICNA Relief has a food pantry, they have some food, and they have they have a mobile health clinic. So we did that. Then some sisters came and they said, we can put some henna on. And these sisters, mashallah, they were putting on henna, and they had it takes 30 seconds to put on henna, so they had their 30-second soft dawah pitch ready, and so they were just doing, there was a sister who I believe is here, she wanted to offer some, legal services to the best of, yeah, I believe she's here today. All right, you can speak after the program, but inshallah. So different Muslims stepped up and brought what they could to the table. So I would say that one thing that we can do, this July 30th event is going on, maybe, just get with Brother Victor and he'll drop a text and say, what can you do? What can you bring towards the event? And then inshallah, pretty soon we'll have an operation up and running, and we can really do some things over there. And then at the same time, we'll also focus on Fort Worth also. So there's a lot of work to be done, and quite frankly, not enough hands on deck. So we need people. I know Salah is starting pretty soon, but do we have any questions, any comments from the brothers and sisters here? No, that means everything. So I think maybe if both the brothers can give some final words, maybe some words of encouragement, maybe a dua. We'll go with both brothers.
I'm just honored to be here with the brothers, and just inshallah, we'll build this from Dallas to Fort Worth, and get all the Muslim communities together and start working more.
Just final words again.
Sorry, I think the brother had something to say.
Quick question, is there a website or how can you connect with you guys? I mean, once we walk out of here, and I don't live in Irving, so what would be a good way?
So one is MuslimAllianceBL.org. MuslimAllianceBL.org. In addition, so that's Muslim Alliance for Black Lives. They bring a lot of these organizations together. Additionally, both of these brothers have individual contact information also. Did you want to announce it?
Well, I'll just leave some cards for anybody.
Do you have a website?
Yeah, buildabetterhood.com. You'll see the stuff that we're doing. We're actually about to open an office out here, so I look forward to working with you brothers out here as well.
And I'm a member of Muslim Alliance for Black Lives, and so the any way to reach out, and also I have some cards as well that I can leave. Or just talk, I'll give you my contact information. I give it to whoever wants to reach out. And my final words is just thank you. Thank you for taking the opportunity to listen to me. Thank you, truly thank you for opening up the doors and open up your hearts and your minds and just hearing me out. It's a blessing. And truly, I pray that Allah blesses all of us for all the good works that we're striving to do and intending to do and are actually doing. Inshallah.
And I think just, in closing, maybe we can reflect on something that happened with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that I think constantly, whenever we're talking about things like this, constantly it's brought back. When we look at the revelation of Surah Abasa, we look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was standing and trying to deliver the message of Islam when the Muslims were in kind of a weak position, a politically weak position. He's trying to deliver the message of Islam to kind of the ruling elites, right, who are not very interested in what he has to say, and they're not really entertaining him either. And then a blind man walks by, a blind man who was not very important in society, but he loved the moment he heard the deen, He loved it, and so he ran to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in that situation, he is in a dilemma, and that situation, 1400 years later, has major ramifications on every single one of us. In that moment when he's faced with, do I pay attention to these people who may be very, very powerful but are not even listening to what I have to say, or do I turn, forget about them, and now just focus on this one man who may not seem like he's very important in this dunya, but he has a clean heart? Allah said, you entertain him. You entertain this blind man because you talk to him, you answer his questions because maybe he can be purified from it. This community, when we go to these communities, it is the easiest dawah ever. Because brothers like Victor and Ahmad and Imam Khalid, they've already, and so many other brothers and sisters who we don't even know, right? They've already done the work. So when they come across a Muslim, they see you as a friend, a trustworthy person, and you spend enough time with them. A bunch of us young Muslims, guys, we were just talking to this 14-year-old kid for 5-10 minutes, and we're walking, and it's time for salah, and we start making wudu, and we pray, and he's in the saf with us. He's not even Muslim. It was the easiest da'wah ever, right? But in order for that to work, we got to keep going back. We got to keep going back and keep going back. And these are people who, I'll close with Imam Khalid Shahid's words. When he talked about Oak Cliff and Fort Worth, he said, these areas are fertile ground. When the seeds of Islam are planted here, then just stand back and watch. So we ask that Allah accepts from all of us. Ameen. If there's anything that was said that was wrong, we ask that Allah forgives us. If there's anything that said that was good, it was from the guidance of Allah. And we ask that Allah blesses these brothers and accepts all their hard work. And we ask that Allah unites us on this work. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر